Howdy guys, got a video here today on the FX DRS Tactical, and in this one I want to do a little review of the rifle, having owned it for around 4 months now. Now I want to keep this short and sweet, so we're going to be getting straight into the good and bad points of the rifle, and we're starting off with the positive points. Now to begin with, the rifle looks great. Say what you will about FX airguns, but they make some of the best looking rifles on the market today. The air tube around the barrel keeps the rifle nice and uncluttered, and the new tactical add-on parts look fantastic. The other thing I like about the rifle is the customization options. Obviously this rifle here has pretty much every bolt-on accessory that you can have on it, but there is a quite literal world of customization options for the rifle. You got new grips, new buttstocks, and a load of other bolt-on accessories that you can add to the rifle to truly make it yours. Up next, like most other FX rifles on the market, the rifle itself handles and feels great. The cocking is nice and slick, the safety has a nice solid detent to it so you know exactly when it's in position, the trigger is perfectly acceptable for a rifle of this style and price point. It's not super heavy or super light, but it does exactly what it needs to do. Another thing I'll mention is the fit and finish of everything is absolutely excellent. The only thing I could complain about is that in certain lights, the anodizing on the block can look a little purplish, but that shows up much worse in pictures and in videos than in real life. And then lastly, over the last 4 months of ownership, I've not had any major problems or issues with the rifle. It's been nice and reliable, consistent over the chronograph, and overall a really nice rifle to own. With that all said, let's get into the negative points of the rifle, and first and foremost is the accuracy. So the rifle out the box wasn't the most accurate thing in the world. At around 30 yards, the groups were around 20 to 25 millimeters in diameter, and then when you push the rifle out to 40 to 50 yards, the groups opened up to around 30 to 40 millimeters. Having said that, accuracy on a rifle like this depends entirely what you're going to do with it. If you're just looking at plinking at cans in your garden, this rifle out the box would be perfectly acceptable. However, for target shooting or hunting, it was a little disappointing. What I ended up doing on this particular rifle is replacing the barrel with a solid one. So I pulled out the old STX liner system and just replaced it with a new solid barrel. That made the rifle a lot more accurate, and whilst I was there I also shortened the cylinder just to bring it in line with the handguard. Again, that's just a personal preference type dealie. I like the way the rifle looks with the short barrel, so that's the way I kept it. The second thing that I didn't like about the rifle from the factory was the mag. So from the factory, the mag was wound way too tight. The spring tension on the drum was so stiff that it was damaging the skirt of the pellets every time it indexed around, and it was an absolute pain to load. What I had to do was use an Allen key in the top here to wind the drum round, then insert a pellet rather than doing it with my fingers. What I ended up doing is drilling a few extra holes in the back so that I could adjust the spring tension on the drum. Now it's nice and simple to load, and with that little modification done, the magazine is no longer damaging the skirts of the pellets. As far as I am aware, the newer magazines with the rifle have fixed this issue. They have an extra few holes in the back there, but I got one of the earlier rifles with the older mag, so it's just something I wanted to point out. My final gripe with the rifle is specific to the sub 12 pound rifles, and that is the brass hammer spring adjuster. It was the same on the older classic DRS, and I do have a video on the channel covering it, but in short, the hammer spring eats away at the brass and the action fills up with brass debris. Along with that, the adjuster itself is held in position by Loctite, and over time this can come loose, wind out slightly and alter the power of the rifle. What I do with these is just replace the old brass one with a new stainless steel one along with a hammer spring lock. Again, I have a video on the channel covering that. Right then, with that all said and done, that's pretty much the main points of the rifle covered. I really quite like the DRS Tactical. I think the DRS in general is one of FX's best rifles. This one has been heavily modified and customised, and I do go through a full build of the rifle here on the channel, so I won't go over that again, but I will show you how well it shoots. So moving over to the scope cam, and here we are all set up in Pete's airgun farm. I'm only going to be doing a couple of groups for the camera at both 50 and 30 yards respectively. So whilst that's happening, I will also go over a couple of things. Firstly, shot count. So the rifle out the box was getting around 170 shots from a full fill, and that has dropped a little with the shortened barrel and cylinder to around 100 shots per fill. So still a perfectly reasonable shot count from a short barrel rifle. Over the chronograph, the performance hasn't really changed much with a new barrel. The rifle was pretty good from the factory, and it's still pretty good now. I'm getting around 10 feet per second spread over a magazine, which from unweighed, unsalted pellets straight through a mag is perfectly reasonable. Apart from that, to be quite honest with you, I've really quite enjoyed owning the DRS Tactical. It's given me a look at sort of customization options from the AR market, and going through various websites, figuring out what stuff I can buy and bolt on the rifle has been quite nice as well. The DRS Tactical is probably going to be one of those rifles which no two look identical. Everyone's going to want to put their small little spin on them, and I have seen quite a few interesting builds on various forums and stuff like that. With that all said, that's pretty much all the shooting footage I'm going to show you. We'll go back over to the bench, I'll get you a quick look at the groups, then we'll round out the video. Right then, so here's just a quick look at the groups. These ones over here on this sheet were done at 50 yards. These ones over here on this sheet were done at 30. All the groups that you can see here were done using the magazine. At 50 yards, I did use two different pellets. So the top row was done using JSB Schultz. The bottom row was done using JSB Express pellets. All of the groups done at 30 yards were just done using JSB Schultz, and these ones here were just my zeroing pellets. With that said, most of the groups at 50 yards will fit comfortably under a 5p piece. A 5p piece for those outside the UK is 18mm in diameter, and with the new barrel on the rifle I am really quite happy with how it is shooting. Probably the best group done at 50 yards is this one at the top here. We'll just get a set of calipers on that. So that probably a 13mm group edge to edge, we'll say. And then at 30 yards, the rifle will put them pretty much through the same hole. Right then, so that's pretty much going to do it for this particular video. In short, I really quite like the DRS. I think it's an absolutely fantastic platform to build from, and quite honestly, the FX DRS is one of my favourite rifles from FX Airguns. With that all said and done, that's pretty much going to do it for this particular video. If you're interested in getting an FX DRS for yourself, or any other rifle for that matter, head on over to the Crawley Surplus store and use code SUB12AirGunners for 7% off the price of the rifle. With that all said and done, that's pretty much going to do it for this particular video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope it's been interesting or useful, and I'll see you in the next one.